Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
After Taylar and Albedo have their kiss, they both turn to Mamanga. He was staring like a horny teenager at them. They both found it quite adorable. When he realized they were done and staring at him, he collected his thoughts. "Well, you two seem to enjoy that," he chuckles. "Now, Albedo, I have something for you." He extends out his open hand and a ring of Ainz old gown appears there. As overseer of all the guardians, you will need to be able to travel Nazarick quickly. I trust you will take care of this ring and never let anyone else use it. Mamanga tells her. "Yes, my lord. I will guard it with my life." Albedo replies. As she turns to leave, Taylar has one more thing to talk to her about. "Albedo, I know you understand mine and Mamanga's acceptance of you, but there is still things you need to prove to truly be with Mamanga." This kind of confuses Albedo, but she listens to Taylar intently. It is one thing to be Mamanga's lover, it is an entirely different thing to be his wife. You must prove that you can handle that role before you can have it. It is not as simple as making him happy. Being Mamanga's wife means you would no longer be just a guardian. You would be a queen of Nazarick. We must make sure that is something you can handle. So do your best and we shall be watching you, Albedo. Taylar tells her. I understand, Lady Taylar. I will do my best to prove to you and Lord Mamanga that I am ready to be a queen of Nazarick. Albedo replies to her. I have no doubt you will, Albedo. You may return to your duties and we will message you if we need anything. We will either be here or in our rooms if you need us for anything. Once you have finished your duties, message me. I have a role I wish for you to fulfill when you are not busy. Taylar says to the succubus. After Albedo leaves, Taylar and Mamanga call Seabass back into the throne room. He wants to ask her about the whole Albedo being a queen, but he realized Taylar was actually dead serious about them all being together, so he said nothing. He really didn't have any idea what to say anyway. They really need to figure out where the hell they are. If someone is close enough to threaten the safety of Nazarick, they must assess their power and take appropriate action. I know we need to figure out our situation, but I have a terrific idea to strengthen the loyalty of those in Nazarick, and it will only take about an hour. What do you say? Taylar asks Mamanga. Seabass is also extremely interested in what Lady Taylar is going to say, but never shows it on his face. He can only appear as the perfect butler in front of the supreme beings. What did you have in mind, Taylar? I think we can spare an hour for those of Nazarick. Mamanga says. Well, it is almost dinner time. Why don't we invite all the homunculi maids to join us for dinner? It will be nice to spend some time with everyone in Nazarick. We can have breakfast tomorrow with the Guardians and lunch tomorrow with the Pleiades. Seabass, would you prefer to eat with the Guardians or the Pleiades? I know you are considered a Guardian because of your power, but you are also the leader of the Pleiades, says Taylar. Whichever my lady believes I shall dash, he gets interrupted by Taylar. Seabass, you are no longer just a creation following orders blindly. You are your own person now. When I ask you what you want, I want to know what you want. Not what you are told is the appropriate response. Very well, my lady. I would like to eat with the Pleiades. Although some of them are a little more, let's say outgoing, than I would ever raise them to be. I see them kind of like my daughters. I believe that is because of how Lord Touch Me created me, but it is still what I would like. Seabass replies, Fantastic, Seabass. Well, don't be late for lunch tomorrow then. I'm sure you will be there when Mamanga is. You seem to be attached to his hip. Taylar giggles at the end. Pistonia, do you have a moment? Of course, Lady Taylar. What can I do for you? I would like you to gather all the homunculi maids in the restaurant to have dinner with Lord Mamanga and I. Have the Pleiades rearrange the tables so we may all sit at the same table. Yes, my lady. I will get to that immediately. Pistonia is delighted the supreme beings care enough for the regular maids to have dinner with them. She sets out immediately to gather them all and let them know the news. Well, we got about an hour, Taylar. Would you like to step outside and see this new world? Mamanga asks her. That sounds awful romantic, Mamanga. Are you trying to get me in the mood? She laughs at him. I just wanted to check out the new world. Man, I never thought you would be saying things like that to me. I have a feeling if I was human, I would have already had a heart attack, he says. I would like to accompany you as a guard, my lord. Seabass says. That sounds good, Taylar is cut off by Mamanga. Not that I don't want you there, Seabass, but I have another job for you. I need you to find the mirror of remote viewing so we may take a look around us. We will take 2 of the Pleiades with us as guards. Narbril and Lupus Regina can both use the fly spell. I think we will take them. Yuri Alpha, he says. Yuri enters the throne room after being called and bows to Lord Mamanga. He tells her to summon Narbril and Lupus Regina to accompany them as guards, and that she and the rest of the Pleiades are invited to join them for lunch tomorrow. Yuri is very excited to spend time with the Supreme Beings and knows the rest of the Pleiades will be also. She quickly gets them from the entrance from the 9th to the 10th floor where they are still stationed. Once the 2 Pleiades get to the throne room, both with smiles on their faces at the news of lunch with the Supreme Beings, both touch a Supreme Being and they are teleported to the 1st floor. There they come across Demiurge and Albedo going over the defense of Nazarick. They both insist on accompanying them as guards, but they tell them that is why they brought Lupus Regina and Narbril. When they get outside, they both look up and can't believe their eyes. Neither of them had ever seen stars before, and now the entire sky was filled with them. They had to get a better look when they saw that sight. Lupus Regina, Narbril, cast fly, we are going up in the sky. Mamanga tells them. He and Taylar spread their wings and take off straight up in the air. Once they get up there, the view they were admiring gets even better. This world looks untouched compared to their old world. Wow, this is amazing, Mamanga. Taylar floats over to Mamanga and grabs onto his arm to admire the stars and untouched plains below them. It looks like an unclaimed box of jewels just there for the taking. Mamanga says to no one in particular. Oh, Mamanga, you know how much I love jewels. Are you going to give me the world? Taylar asks. I would give you whatever makes you happy, Taylar, he says to her. Both the Pleiades are completely moved by this scene. They can see these Supreme Beings not only care for them, but for each other. As they are admiring the view, Taylar and Mamanga see Mare concealing Nazarick. He is doing a very good job, and they believe he deserves a reward. They fly down to talk to Mare and praise him for his hard work. SS Supreme 001s, WW, what do I owe the honor of your visit? Mare says as he bows to their arrival. We simply came to let you know that you are doing a good job, Mare. We wish for you to have this. Mamanga holds out a ring of Ainz gown. BB, but that is our ring of Ainz gown. Oh, only Supreme Beings can wear TT those, he says. It is all right, Mare. It is a reward for your hard work, and you will need it to get around Nazarick quickly. Taylar reassures him. TT, thank you, Lady Taylar, Lord Mamanga. Right as they finish, Albedo and Demiurge come over to report about the defensive status of Nazarick. They give Demiurge a ring of Ainz gown as the defense commander. Then tell Albedo about breakfast with the Guardians, and they tell the Pleiades they are joining the homunculi mates for dinner so they can make their way back to their rooms at their leisure. Then they teleport near the restaurant for dinner. What were the Supreme Ones saying up in the sky, you two? Demiurge asks. Well, Lord Mamanga said this world looks like a box of jewels just there for the taking. Then Lady Taylar said she loved jewels and wanted to know if he was giving her the world. He told her he would give her whatever would make her happy, replies Lupus Regina. This makes Albedo smile. She picked the most fantastic man to love. Demiurge immediately started making plans to hand the world to the Supreme Beings. If that is what they desired, then he would deliver it to them. After Mamanga and Taylar had a great dinner with the regular maids, they set off to get some sleep. The next few days were going to be busy, and although they didn't require sleep, it was good to rest the mind. When Taylar suggested they both sleep in Mamanga's room, he went back to being flustered. Don't worry, Mamanga. I'm not asking you to sleep with me. We have immortal bodies now, so we have plenty of time for that. Let's just get comfortable with each other first, then we can explore those options. Taylar tells him to calm him down. Yep, glad I'm not human anymore. I definitely would have had a heart attack already, he says to her while laughing. This was going to take some getting used to, and he had no doubt she would invite Albedo to join them eventually, which would make him even more flustered. He needed to get used to this before she did that, or he would not appear to be the great leader of Ainz' old gown he was trying to project. After they both changed into their sleepwear, they laid down on the bed together. Momonga's bed was abnormally large. You could easily fit 8 people on this thing, but that didn't stop Taylar from getting right next to him and snuggling up to him. Momonga was a little nervous at first, but after just a few minutes he instinctively wrapped his right arm and wing around her and quickly drifted off to sleep. Albedo has been having the best day ever. After everything that happened today, she didn't think it could get any better, and then she heard Lady Taylar plan to have a meal with everyone in Nazarick at some point. To make it even better, Lord Momonga wanted to give Lady Taylar the world to rule. Albedo finally understood what Lady Taylar meant when she said it was one thing to be Lord Momonga's lover, but an entirely different thing to be his wife. She now knew what she needed to do to become a queen worthy of the Supreme Ones. She had to care for the beings of Nazarick just as much as they did and mentally prepare herself to rule at least part of the world. For Albedo, caring for the beings of Nazarick was not a problem. She loved everyone in Nazarick and always would if they didn't disgrace the Supreme Beings. She just needed to show it more. Perhaps she could eat with some of the regular maids and Pleiades when she had the chance. She also didn't need to eat like the Supreme Beings, but she could, and some foods gave her boosts. She also possessed a lot of extra talents being created as the perfect woman. She could sew, cook, clean, and numerous other things men would love. Maybe she could teach some in Nazarick these skills to bond with them. Anything was worth a shot to be with the Supreme Beings. After she finished informing all the Guardians, she returned to the throne room. Tabula never gave her a room, another thing that annoyed her about her creator, and when she tried to message Lady Taylar, she did not respond. She flew up to her hidden space in the ceiling, pulled out her bag, and began sewing some baby clothes. It's never too early to be prepared. Taylar woke up after a few hours of sleep. She felt absolutely terrific right now. She could feel Momonga right beside her. He felt very warm and safe. She remembered she wanted to talk to Albedo, but fell asleep very quickly. It was almost morning and Albedo should be in the throne room shortly. She had no idea where her room was. She knew where the Pleiades stayed. They had their own wing. The other Guardians stayed on their floors. She wondered where Albedo's room was. She would have to find that out today. Momonga looked like he could use another hour or so of sleep, so she gently got out of bed and went to figure out where Albedo's room was. After she changed into her bright red Miko outfit, she thought she would change it up for today. She made her way to the throne room. When she entered, she was surprised to see Albedo sitting at the base of the throne, sewing what looked like tiny clothes. When Albedo saw Lady Taylar enter, she rose, then kneeled for the Supreme Being. Before she could say anything, Taylar held up a hand and spoke first. Two things, Albedo. First, I told you to learn to be a queen. You do not kneel to an equal. I know you are not a queen yet, but you must act like one. Call me Taylar, not Supreme One, Lady Taylar, or anything like that. Second, are you sewing baby clothes? Oh, sorry, I have 3 things. Third, where's your room? I recall the Pleiades' rooms. The Guardians all have their own places on their floors. Where is yours at? She tells her, then asks a bunch of questions. Well, Lady Taylar points at her. Sorry, Taylar. Yes, I am sewing baby clothes. I was given the skill to, and the reason I was sewing in the throne room is because I do not have a room. So I decided to pass the time until you, or Lord Momonga, woke up by being prepared for the future. She finishes with a smile. Well, that is depressing. You don't have a room. How could Tabula not give you one? Actually, that works out great. What I wanted to talk to you about yesterday was a role I was hoping you would take on for me. Albedo is excited at the prospect of helping Taylar. She wanted to do whatever she could to show she was growing as a ruler and wife. You see, Mamanga has Seabass, the world's perfect butler, to attend to him whenever he needs it. I was thinking you could serve a similar role for me. Albedo's wings start to shake with excitement. I can tell by your wings you don't have a problem with my request. You would not be a butler, just an advisor, who could help me with some things around Nazarick. I know you have your overseer duties, and I don't want you to neglect them. I am working on a plan to lighten your load in that department so you can focus on other things. Also, sewing sounds fun, so why don't you teach me? I used to be good at it, but never tried it in Yggdrasil. And lastly, since you don't have a room, you can have mine. It is right next to Mamanga's room, and that is where Mamanga and I will be staying so you can be close by in case we need you. Taylar, I appreciate your generosity, but I don't think I can take your room. There are a number of guest rooms I could take instead, so you could keep your room the way it is. Albedo says. While that is true, a guest room is not fit for a queen. I suppose I could clear out another of the members' rooms for you to have. Albedo can't believe Taylar just offered to clear out another member's room for her to make it her own. She really isn't sure what to do. The other supreme beings did abandon them, but she knew Lord Mamanga missed them and probably wouldn't want that. Then if it's all right with you, I will stay in your room, if you are sure you do not need it for anything. Albedo says. It is your room now, Albedo. I will remove my things once Mamanga awakens, and you can put your things in there. Would you like to go there now? Mamanga won't be awake for another hour or so, and there are some clothes in there I will never wear but would be perfect for you. Taylar asks Albedo. That sounds like fun. I will follow you. Taylar points right next to her and Albedo gets the message. They walk beside each other talking all the way to Taylar's room. Albedo is learning a lot from her in a very short amount of time. As expected of a supreme being, to be able to impart wisdom on someone in mere moments. Albedo had a lot to live up to. After they go through the wardrobe and Albedo tries on a few, she decides that Taylar was right and they do suit her. She noticed Taylar wore different outfits, probably so Lord Mamanga wouldn't get bored with the same color, and decided to wear her new red dress to match Taylar. It looked exactly like her normal dress, but was blood red just like Taylar's current Miko outfit. When Mamanga woke up, he didn't feel Taylar laying next to him. When he opened his eyes, she was nowhere in sight either, but he can swear he hears her giggling. He looks around and realizes it is coming from her room. He gets himself out of bed and heads towards her room to see what she is giggling about. As he nears her door, it opens and out walks Taylar and Albedo, both wearing red dresses and talking like they are best friends. He is starting to get worried about how close they are getting. This definitely won't be good for his heart. Well, you two look very lively this morning. I love your dresses, you both look beautiful, he says to them. He remembered reading that if a girl wore something new, you should say how great they looked in it. Judging by both their reactions, that was the right thing to do. He walks up to each of them and gives them a quick good morning kiss. Getting used to that was still much more stressful than ruling Nazarick. It was starting to get easier for him, and he was forcing himself to get used to it so he wouldn't seem so damned flustered around these two beauties. Well, aren't you just a gentleman? You are very nice for being the angel of death. Taylar laughs at the growingly confident Mamanga. Good morning, Lord Mamanga. Albedo says, a giant smile on her face from the kiss she got. She can hardly control her wings right now. Albedo, that goes for Mamanga too. No Lord, Supreme One, or any of that. Just call him Mamanga, Taylar says. But he's the ruler of the great tomb of Nazarick. I must address him as Lord, she says. Do you hear me call him Lord Mamanga? Taylar asks. No, I don't, Taylar, Albedo says. Mamanga is very intrigued by this conversation. He has no idea why Albedo is suddenly just referring to her as Taylar and why she wants her to just call him Mamanga. It seems like she is training her for something. Well, as interesting as this conversation is, shouldn't we go use the mirror to find out our situation? I think we have put this off for long enough, Mamanga says. That is a good idea. I say that to you a lot, don't I? Taylar says. Yes, you sure do, he laughs. All three of them head to the throne room to use the guild master's office for the mirror. Mamanga is going to let Taylar try first since she is a pure magic caster and he is a hybrid. They take turns scanning the surrounding area. They have been at it for 2 days now and still haven't found anything. That isn't too unusual because the mirror cannot scan a large area, but they figured they would have found something by now. The best they got was finding a forest near the end of the night, and they saw 2 worgs. Nothing but insects to the likes of Nazarick. They hoped the 3rd day would bring them more luck, and they retired for their usual rest. They didn't rest for a full 8 hours because it was unnecessary, but spending 3 or 4 hours alone, enjoying holding each other, was the best part of their day. Right before lunch on the 3rd day, Mamanga finds a village. It looks like a regular farming village. As he is about to move on to the next area, he sees a number of horses running through the village. It seems strange, so he zooms in to get a better look. Is this a festival or something? When Mamanga zooms in, he sees it is not a festival, but a bunch of knights attacking villagers. They are being slaughtered, and it doesn't seem to bother Mamanga in the slightest, watching people be killed. As he is about to move on, he looks at Taylar standing next to Seabass. He sees a quick illusion of touch me, and right as he is about to say it, Taylar beats him to it. Saving someone in trouble is the right thing to do. Isn't that what touch me used to say Seabass? She asks the butler. Albedo doesn't quite understand why Taylar would save a bunch of human insects, but is curious about the reason. Yes, Lady Taylar, it is what I was created to believe. Seabass replies, Well, it is settled then. Seabass, go tell Demiurge to raise the security level of Nazarick to the maximum. Albedo, go get full armed, you are going to accompany me and Taylar to this village. Seabass bows and takes off to find Demiurge. He wondered why Albedo didn't bow as she should have, but that will be a question for later. As Seabass and Albedo both run off, Taylar suggests they wear masks to hide their face, and they can come up with some excuse why they can't take them off. Mamanga pulled out a plain black mask known as the Mask of the Wraith. It was incredibly easy to get the item from the Halloween event. He actually got it because he had nothing else to get from there, but he quickly found out it was more than it seemed. Yggdrasil had a cosmetic system for every piece of gear. This ensured that even if someone had the same exact gear as you both could look completely different from each other. The mask Mamanga got had a hidden ability he only told to Taylar and Nishiki Enrai. If you used this mask as a cosmetic, it retained the ability Shroud of the Wraith. It would make you completely incorporeal for 5 minutes, and you could turn the ability on and off with just a little concentration to activate or deactivate. Taylar pulled out a white mask with light blue lines that followed the contour of a face on the light blue lines where yellow Miko runes following the lines. She doubted anyone here could read kanji. It was starting equipment for a Miko and had absolutely no ability or worth whatsoever. After they were both ready, Mamanga held out the staff of Ainz Olgown. Gate. He leaves the staff in the office and pulls his scythe out as he steps through first. There is no way he is letting Taylar go first. She is the healer, he is the frontliner. He wanted Albedo to come so she could protect Taylar if necessary. She was built to be a tank, she would be perfect to protect her. He decides to try his magic first, then he will see about melee combat. Grasp heart. The knight's heart appears in Mamanga's hand and he crushes it. The knight drops dead on the spot and Mamanga is relieved his favorite spell worked on the humans in this world. If he would have resisted it, he would have grabbed Taylar and Albedo and left these villagers to their fate. As he is finishing up that thought, Taylar speaks up. Did you have to start with 9th tier? I mean, that's pretty overkill for a mere human. Let me try something a little less powerful, she says to him. And then the monsters, the other knight screams. Says the man attacking innocent villagers and killing without remorse. Let's see how tough you really are, Taylar says. Holy Ray. She casts a tier 4 spell to see how it works instead of the 9th tier overkill Mamanga went with. To her and Mamanga's surprise, the ray pierces right through him and he drops over dead. Wow, talk about weak, to die from mere 4th tier magic. As he dies, Albedo steps through the portal, fully armed and ready for battle. I am sorry it took so long. The preparations took some time. You have perfect timing, Albedo, Taylar says. As they are conversing, Momonga walks up to the two terrified sisters holding onto each other for comfort. He tries to hand the injured one a potion, but they freak out thinking it is blood. Albedo hears their disrespectful tone and immediately tries to put them in their place. You lowly humans dare deny the generosity of a supreme Badash, Taylar cuts her off. Albedo, this is precisely what I meant. When you are a ruler, you may rule over many species. While humans are indeed weak, they are also driven and determined if nurtured and encouraged. Taylar tells her. I am sorry, Taylar. I will try and take your lesson to heart and learn from it. Taylar holds out her hand and casts a spell on the injured girl. Heal. The wound instantly heals up and the girl feels better than she ever had in her life. She quickly tries to thank her saviors. Thank you for saving us. I am Enri Amat, and this is my sister, Nimu. Enri says. You are welcome, Enri. Stay here and we will take care of the knights attacking the village. I will cast some protection magic on you that will keep you safe if you stay here. Taylar says. Anti-life cocoon wall of protection from Arrow's sanctuary. Here, take these. Momonga says as he throws two small horns at the girl named Enri. Those are the horn of the goblin general. They will summon about 20 goblins to serve you. Use them to protect yourself. He finishes and turns to head toward the village. He created a death knight and sent it out while Taylar was talking to Enri. It was much different from creating an undead in Yggdrasil. It actually took over a human corpse when he cast it and took off after he gave it orders. He was going to have to experiment with this. Enri had one last question as he tried to walk off towards the center of town. Thank you very much. May we know the name of our saviors? Enri asks. Momonga, I've been thinking about this. We should spread the name of Ainz in another world. How do you feel about being called Ainz While I agree spreading the name is probably a good idea, I'm not sure calling myself that is appropriate. You are Ainz and have been since it was founded. Fine. I am Taylar and this is Ainz This warrior. She points to Albedo, is Albedo. Just Albedo for now, she says with a smile no one can see because she is wearing a mask. Did we have a wedding while I was sleeping? Very funny, like you would object if we did. Ainz has absolutely no comeback for that. He actually did dream about her quite often in RL, but he wasn't going to tell her that. They both spread their wings and took to the sky. Ainz had given Albedo a necklace of flying so she could keep up. On the way, Taylar asked Albedo how she felt about Momonga taking the name Ainz I wish he would keep his name, but I understand why you would want to change it. I believe some of the supreme beings would object, but they abandoned us and you two are here so it does not matter what they think, she tells her. The venom with which she said the others abandoned them was not lost on Taylar. To be honest, she kind of felt the same. They all simply gave up everything they worked so hard for. She understood there was RL, but it was a terrible place. Who would choose that over this? After they stopped playing, they even stopped meeting up, and they didn't even call either of them anymore except for Nishiki Enrai. It was just her and Momonga for the last 2 years of Yggdrasil. The only upside to that was they had all of their old comrades' gear. When they got there, they saw the Death Knight slaughtering everyone. Momonga realized if they were getting beaten this badly, it would be a waste of energy to even fight these pathetic weaklings. He was curious what his scythe would do in this world, but the Death Knight had killed almost all of the knights. He ordered the Death Knight to stop, and he, Taylar, and Albedo descended. Everyone was staring at the three of them and the incarnation of hatred and death that seemed to be controlled by the Angel of Death. What they really couldn't believe was what appeared to be an angel that radiated pure hope and joy. Seeing them next to each other was like heaven and hell coming together. I am Ainz The rest of you will return to your leaders and tell them that if they attack this village again, it will bring them nothing but death and despair. Momonga tells the remaining 4 knights. They run off at lightning speed when they realize he is letting them go. Taylar steps in front of him and walks up to an old man who looks to be in his late 40s or early 50s. I presume you are the village chief by your position in this crowd. Our help was not for nothing. We require information for our help. We have been asleep for a long time and know nothing about this area anymore. This village did not exist when we were last awake, she tells him. What do you mean when we were last awake, Taylar? Now you are starting to confuse me. Are you trying to pass us off as gods to these people? No, just rulers, not gods. If we can find out how far back they know, we can just pick a later date and say that is when we are from. You wanted to give me the world, didn't you? They say every journey starts with one step. She turns and gives him a smile he still can't see. All right, but if you truly want this, we need to proceed cautiously at first. We know nothing of this world. There might be many others like us out there. She nods her head and returns her attention to the village chief. He agrees to tell them what he knows of the land and show them a map he has. Once they learn what they can from the village chief, they take a stroll around the village to talk about what they learned. Well, this might be easier than I thought. Taylar says. What do you mean by that? You can't think that based on the intelligence we gathered from one village chief. Mamanga says to her. If what he said is true, I think I can. He said the kingdom's best warrior could probably have defeated those knights. That means there is a chance he could have lost. He is probably around level 40-ish, 50 maximum if he has crappy gear. Those knights were mostly in their teens and some in the 20s. The best fighter in the Empire is supposedly this martial lord troll guy. He might be 40 to 60 depending on his gear. The only one that gives me pause is the slain Theocracy. When he mentioned these 6 gods, they seemed an awful lot like players from Yggdrasil. If that is the case, taking over 2 of those 3 should be a piece of cake. I think it would be best to start with Irantil based off that map he showed us, but we first need more intel to make sure that is the right move. Also based off what he said about Yggdrasil gold, we are incredibly wealthy in this world, she finishes. Well, you pretty much just took the words right out of my mouth. I think I have a way for us to gather intel that we can talk about back at Nazarick. Albedo, do you have anything to add? Mamanga says. No, I believe you two covered everything, Mamanga. Albedo says. He is grateful Taylar got Albedo to call him Mamanga. It seems like it lifted a little weight off his shoulders, and he got a good feeling when she called him that. As they were about to depart, they saw the village chief taking with some of the villagers, and it looked like something was wrong. What is wrong, Chief? Ainz asks. Lord Ainz, it seems there are about 50 riders approaching the village, he says. Is there a building the villagers can gather in? Taylar will be able to protect it from attack if you are all in the same building, he tells the chief. They should all fit in the storehouse, Lord Ainz, he says. He gathers up all the villagers and Taylar casts protection magic on the building. They then proceed to the village square and wait for the riders to arrive. Once they get into their view, they can see they look completely different from the knights they just killed. Maybe this one would end in a bloodbath like the first run-in with knights did. While they looked like knights, they were wearing different equipment. He wasn't sure if this was just a ragtag band of knights or a group of mercenaries. Ainz could tell the man at the head of knights was the leader by his position and the look in his eyes. When they got close, the head knight looked them over before dismounting. Ainz understood the look of fear in their eyes when they looked at the Death Knight. Based on the gear Ainz could see, his Death Knight would probably kill all of them. What he didn't like was the look in their eyes when they looked at Taylar and Albedo. While both of their faces were covered, it wasn't hard to see their bodies. Even Albedo, covered head to toe in full plate armor. Her armor fit her body to perfection, and you could see every curve. It took him all his willpower not to rip all their eyes out. He at least noticed the head knight had some common courtesy not to stare like a horny teenager. As Gazef Stronov approached the 3rd village trying to track down the knights attacking the villagers in this area, he was grateful to see it wasn't burning like the others he had come across. When the village square came into sight, he was feeling happy, grateful, worried, and a little scared as he scanned the people standing in the square. There were 2 obviously beautiful women, even if their faces were covered. That was his assumption, at least from his experience with women who showed off their body that much. Even the woman in full plate had incredible curves. When he saw Ainz, his heart dropped. He could see the jet black wings, huge scythe, and black mask. He looked like someone who dealt in death and was not to be trifled with. When he saw the giant black incarnation of hatred standing behind him, he hoped he didn't have to battle that monster. I am the warrior captain of the Riestei's kingdom, Gazef Stronov. I have been sent by order of the king to visit each village in this area and exterminate the knights attacking the villagers here. The kingdom's warrior captain. The village chief mutters in awe. Gazef looks at the village chief. You must be the chief of this village. Can you tell me who the people with you are? He says. The chief is about to speak up, but Ainz interrupts him. No need for that, warrior captain. I am pleased to meet you. I am Ainz Olgaun. This is Taylar Olgaun, and this is Albedo. We saw this village being attacked and stepped in to stop it. Ainz tells him. Gazef immediately bows after hearing they saved the village. Thank you for saving this village. I cannot express how grateful I am for that. Gazef says. No need to bow. I did this for payment of information. This village was not here the last time I ventured out. Ainz says. Payment? Are you an adventurer? Gazef asks. No, not an adventurer. We have just been asleep for a while. I was trying to find out exactly how long. Ainz tells him. I am sorry, Master Gown, I have never heard your name before. Could you tell me about the knights who attacked this village? Gazef asks. That is not a problem, like I said. We have been asleep for a while. As far as the knights, almost all of them are already dead. Do I really need to say anything else? Ainz states. Already dead, huh? Did you strike them down, Master Gown? No, not all of them, he says. If I could ask you a couple questions. Who is that? He points at the Death Knight. He is a servant I created. He is the one who killed the knights, well, most of them. And could I get you to remove your masks and helmets? Gazef asks. That would not be a good idea. Why is that, Master Gown? Well, as for myself, my name is Ainz Olgaun, but I am called many things. Angel of Death, Grim Reaper, Ruler of Death, etc. Along with those titles comes the ability to instill fear on those who gaze upon me. If I were to remove my mask, the two beside me, and possibly you would be fine, but I assure you, all of your men would die of fear. Gazef's men get visibly tense after he says that, but Ainz continues. As far as the two beside me, while they have no such abilities, I can tell there are few men in your company who share your tact and courtesy. I assure you these are the two most beautiful women you would ever lay your eyes on, and I'm already holding back from ripping your men's eyes out because of how they are looking at my wives, he says and releases a quick burst of his aura of despair. Most of Gazef's men pissed their pants when Ainz released his aura. It was only for a split second, but it was enough for them to realize he was serious in what he said. Even Gazef had trouble controlling his fear when that happened. Taylar was getting bored with this conversation until Ainz called her his wife. She could tell that being forward and pushy was working quicker than she expected on him, especially when he said wives and included Albedo. She wondered if they should have a proper wedding in Nazarick and lost herself in thinking about dresses while Ainz continued his conversation. Albedo was bursting with joy on the inside. Mamanga had called her his wife. She knew she still had much to prove to he and Taylar, but the acknowledgement from him made her want to pounce on him. All she could think about was little Mamangas running around, and she paid no more attention to the human. It did not matter what he said, only what Mamanga had already said. It is unusual to see such beautiful women, even if you can't see their faces, but it is no excuse for my men. I apologize on their behalf, Master Gown. Gazef says. Right as Ainz is about to respond, one of Gazef's scouts returns and tells him the village is being surrounded by about 50 magic casters, and all of them have summoned angels. Gazef thinks of asking Ainz for help, but then reconsiders after what he said about his men. Master Gown, do you know why there are that many magic casters surrounding the village? Gazef asks him. No, I have no idea why, warrior captain, he responds. If you do not know, then they must be here for me. The only country that could gather that many magic casters is the slain Theocracy. It seems I have made an enemy of them too for them to send one of their scriptures after me. I will lead them away from the village. I hate to ask this of you, Master Gown, but could you please protect this village once again if it comes to that? Gazef says. I have already given my word to protect this place, so you need not go that far. I will make sure they are all safe. Ainz tells Gazef. Thank you, Master Gown. Gazef bows, then mounts his horse. He needed to draw the Theocracy away from this village, clear a path for his men to ride back to the capital and report what had happened here. I wish you luck, warrior captain. Take this, it is an idol of good luck. Ainz hands him what looks like a small wooden doll. Thank you, Master Gown. I hope it brings me much luck. As Gazef was riding away from the village, he realized he had been set up. He now knew the reason the noble faction pushed so hard not to let him take any of the kingdom's treasures. He had on nothing but backup equipment. He might be able to win with his normal gear on, but as he was now, he didn't stand much of a chance. All he could do was buy his men some time for them to flee and inform the king of what had happened. As they were walking back to the village chief's house, Ainz opened a gate and sent the Death Knight to report to Demiurge. While they were walking, Taylar had to ask something. I assume since you gave him that useless trinket, you intend to fight this scripture unit he was talking about? You noticed that? You seemed to zone out for a little bit, so I thought I could sneak it by you. He laughs. Do you think I'm going to let you put yourself in harm's way for that man? She asks. Do not worry, Taylar. We will use clairaudience/clairvoyance to observe the battle. If it is something I cannot handle, I will leave the warrior captain to his fate. You will be stuck with me for a while. Plus, you two are coming with me. I want to see the look on someone's face when a real angel teaches them their place. He jokes. She walks up and intertwines her fingers with his and says, Good. Now, let's go watch the show. As they walk back to the village, Taylar notices the chief walking behind her and slightly to the left of her. She wishes he was a little farther back where he belonged. Why did I just think that? When she looked over at Albedo, she got a little annoyed but couldn't actually be mad at her. She was standing behind Ainz and slightly to his right. She was trying to teach her, but she couldn't point out everything or she would never learn. Albedo has made a great deal of progress in just a few days already, which is why she couldn't get mad at her. The fact she was calling her Taylar and Ainz Mamanga was a huge step in Taylar's eyes. She saw the way the Guardians acted around them and knew Albedo was struggling with the idea, but she was keeping it together pretty well. She could overlook this for now and just point it out later if she kept at it. Once they got to the village storehouse, Taylar projected her clairaudience/clairvoyance to observe the battle. The villagers were in awe of the magic, but they slowly came back to normal as the battle progressed. The warrior captain was not having a good time in the battle. He had defeated a few angels using martial arts, but the magic casters would just summon another one. He was running low on stamina and would soon be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Perhaps I should keep you alive so you can watch me slaughter those villagers before I kill you, Gazef. Nigan says. Ha 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 ha. Gazef starts laughing uncontrollably at him. You believe you will massacre those villagers? I wish you would leave me alive so I can see the look on your face when you die. There are 3 people in that village who are stronger than me, and I doubt you could defeat even one of them. Gazef says to him. That is why you will die here instead, Gazef, because you spout such nonsense. You knowing the villagers will get slaughtered is enough for Nigan stops mid-sentence. Where Gazef Stronov stood just a second ago, now stands what looks like a female warrior in black, full-plate armor, an angel that radiated hope, and the personification of death. He believed death looked exactly like the last being. Black cloak, large scythe, and an aura that screamed at him to run away. Nice to meet you people of the slain Theocracy. I am Ainz Olgown. This is Taylar, Olgown, and Albedo. He motions to each of them. I will make this short and sweet. You can never hope to defeat me. Offer your life to me without resistance, and I will make your death painless like you offered to Gazef. Ainz tells Nigan. What a bluff. You may look the part, but there are 50 angels and 50 casters here. You could never hope to defeat those numbers. Nigan says as confidently as he can. Those are archangel flames summoned by third-tier magic, correct? Ainz asks him. That is so. You finally realize how futile your effort will be. You shall pay for your ignorance and foolishness. Nigan says and has 2 angels charge Ainz to end him. Ainz was going to let the angels attack him to see if his physical nullification would work, but Taylar and Albedo had other ideas. They swiftly stepped in front of him and each uppercut an angel. They exploded in a shower of light and disappeared from existence. What just happened? Nigan yells. Did you think we would allow you to just attack our husband/love? Taylar and Albedo say. You two are awfully protective today. I was trying to test my high-tier physical nullification. Ainz says. Husband? How CC could someone who radiates such hope and love be married to a monster? Nigan asks. He is no monster. He is the ruler of death. I am the angel of life. There can be no life without death. Taylar says. She wants to rip his head off for calling Ainz a monster. I suppose it is fine if you see my face. Ainz says. He pulls down his hood and mask and reveals his face. Since all of you are going to die anyway. Have all the angels attack at once, he orders. Could you two please back up? I don't want to hurt either of you if friendly fire is on, he asks Taylar and Albedo. They both jump back about 100 feet from him. Negative burst. Ainz uses one of his necromancer abilities. It is the perfect ability for someone like him. It does nothing to the caster, but heals his undead and deals negative energy damage to anything that is living. It should deal even more damage to these angels. All the angels disappear into sparkles of light. The Theocracy magic casters can't believe their eyes. 50 angels had just been defeated in mere seconds. They all started unloading their most powerful spells at the one calling himself Ainz Olgown. Ainz noticed they were only using spells of up to a maximum of tier 3. He wouldn't even think of using something so weak in PvP. Was this really all the power these New Worlders had? There had to be people stronger than this, but from what he understood, the scriptures were like the special forces of the Theocracy. He was very disappointed so far. Taylar and Albedo show back upright as he is thinking how lame this battle is. Ainz's ability wouldn't have killed either of them, but it would have hurt very badly if friendly fire was on. Nigan was at a loss for words. Gazef was not wrong. This man was much stronger than him, but he still hadn't used his Principality of Observation or the trump card the Cardinals had given him. He orders the Pooh to attack Ainz. Ainz was bored already with the Theocracy's nonsense. It wasn't even fun to curb stomp someone this badly. He asked if either of them wanted to take this one, and Albedo quickly said she would. As the Principality of Observation approached, Albedo stepped in front of Taylar and Mamanga. She would not let this weak angel anywhere near them. When the angel attacked, she reached up and grabbed the shaft of its mace. When she knew the angel couldn't go anywhere, she reached back and brought her axe down on its head. She split the angel cleanly in half with almost no effort. What a high-level angel defeated in one attack? Ha 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 ha. You think that is a high-level angel? You're kidding, right? Taylar asks. Captain, what are we going to do? One of the soldiers asks. Nigan reaches into his robe and pulls out a sealing crystal. We will summon the highest level of angels. They all see a sealing crystal in the caster's hands and get a little tense for a second. If that was an item from Yggdrasil, it might actually be able to hurt them. Nigan holds up the crystal and summons the angel. When the light goes away, they are all speechless. I see you cannot even speak in such a divine presence, Nigan says. This is so stupid. I can't believe we were on guard for such child's play. Ainz says. I know, to think this is their trump card. It is kind of depressing. Taylar says. What to SS speak of the highest of angels like that? Why you are bluffing? Use Holy Smite Dominion Authority. It is the product of 7th tier magic and no one can withstand its might, he exclaims. As the column of light descends on them, they all start laughing at the damage they take. Taylar takes none whatsoever. She is the angel of life and very well versed in holy magic. It is her specialty, and damaging holy spells do nothing to her. Albedo barely takes any damage thanks to her gear. She was built to be a tank, and as such, has incredibly high resistances to everything you could imagine. Ainz was laughing the hardest. He finally knew what it felt like to take damage, and it didn't hurt. At least this little bit of it didn't. He might be vulnerable to holy magic being an angel of death, but that is what gear is for, to overcome your shortcomings. So that is all you got? Taylar asks. I believe it is my turn, love. I will show you a powerful angel as a gift before you die. Heaven's Gate, Taylar says. She decides to go with the 4 cherubim gatekeeper's choice. She didn't want to show she could summon 2 level 100 angels if anyone was watching, and summoning 8 of the same thing he just summoned sounded boring. As the angels descended, one of them took a casual swipe at Nigan's summon and killed it instantly. As the angels descended, Nigan couldn't believe what he was seeing. These angels coming down felt 10 times more powerful than the Dominion authority, but he couldn't understand how that could be. He had a treasure handed down by God, and this angel could summon something so much more powerful. He needed to beg for his life if he was going to get out of this. PP, please spare me. YY, you can have any of the others. JJ, just let me live. Nigan says as he sells out his whole unit to try and survive. He told you to offer your life without resistance or suffer despair. This is what you get for attacking the ruler of the great tomb of Nazarick. Angels, kill all of them, but leave the captain alive. We have questions for him. Taylar says. They all turn to start fleeing, but the gatekeepers are having none of that. These beings attacked the angel of life and will pay for such an action. When Nigan accepts that there is nowhere to run or hide, he falls to his knees waiting for death. It gets very quiet, and Nigan is wondering what happened. He opens his eyes and sees the 3 of them in front of him. He believes this is where they will question him, but Albedo has other plans for him. Mamanga, Taylar, I believe we should send this one to Neuronist Painkill. Albedo suggests. That is a good idea, Albedo. She will be able to get the answers we need, and it won't waste any of our time. Ainz says. Ainz walks right up to Nigan and uses one of his Master of Death abilities. Paralysis. When Nigan slumps over, he sends a message to Demiurge to meet them at the entrance of Nazarick. He had a prisoner Demiurge needed to take to Neuronist. He was hoping she wouldn't kill him during questioning. He really wanted to see what kind of undead he could make out of a caster. From this world, he opens a gate to the front of Nazarick and throws Nigan through where Demiurge should be waiting. Just a few seconds later, all 3 of them step through the gate as well. Before they teleport to the office to discuss what they have learned, Ainz tells Albedo to gather the Guardians and their most trusted companions in the throne room so he can speak with them. They needed to know what they learned so that Nazarick could be prepared as possible for the future. So far, the beings of this world seemed weak, but if they were here, there could certainly be others. As soon as Albedo uses her ring of Ainz' old gown and begins to gather the Guardians, Ainz and Taylar make their way to the office to discuss what to do next and what to tell the Guardians. Based on what they learned from the village chief, the warrior captain, and the scripture they fought, this world's inhabitants seem incredibly weak to them. Taylar and Ainz were pretty sure one of the Guardians would be a handful for an entire country in this world. See, I told you it would be easier than we thought taking over the world. If the slain Theocracy was the wild card BC, we didn't know their power, and that scripture was like a special forces unit, then they are only slightly more powerful than the Riestai's kingdom, in my opinion. Not a single one of those scriptures could use spells above Tier 3, and they thought the Dominion authority was the pinnacle of angels. I should have just taken command of it instead of having the gatekeepers kill it. I bet that would have gotten a much more amusing reaction out of him. Taylar says to Ainz. While that might be true about the Theocracy, we can't assume that was the best they had to offer. Seeing that captain pull out a sealing crystal sure was surprising, even though the angel inside was weak. We have to assume other players have come here also. I'm almost certain those 6 gods he talked about were players, and if there are more here and they are max level, we will have to figure out how to deal with them if you wish to go ahead with your plans for world domination. Ainz says, I do agree that we must proceed carefully, but I also think that if another player has come here and they came alone, without a guild base, they will be no problem to handle. At least we don't have to worry about Seraphim members. They don't have a guild base to bring with them, she says with a huge grin on her face. I think maybe you and I are the wrong races, hee. Shouldn't I be the one bragging about killing people and taking over the world, not the angel of life? He laughs. As you said, I took to being a member of Ainz Olgown very well. She smiles at him. Well, once Neuronis does her thing, hopefully, we will learn much more about this world and the Theocracy. I also wanted to talk to you about how we could gather more intel in this world while not being so obvious. Everyone in that village, the warrior captain and his men, and the Theocracy unit seemed very surprised by their being heteromorphs. I think most of the people of this world, well, at least this area, are humans and they don't see other races very often. So if we are to gather intel, I think it is best if we disguise ourselves. I heard the chief talk about adventurers. I think we should pose as adventurers and try to gather as much intel as we can behind the scenes. Ainz Olgown didn't exactly make a lot of friends in Yggdrasil. Ainz tells Taylar. I know what you just said makes sense, but I think it is just your higher intelligence making an elaborate excuse for you to go adventuring with me again, she says, excited at the possibility of exploring a new world with him. Well, we need the intel, and he stands up, walks up to her and gives her a kiss. Taylar is not only glad she told him how she felt, but also happy it was in this world. She doesn't think he would be acting like this if they were still on Earth. I can't let anything happen to you or anyone in Nazarick. Do not worry, I am going to be by your side every step of the way, Taylar tells him. I know you will be, but I don't want to take any chances. So I was thinking. He casts a 7th tier spell. Create greater item. Ainz is now covered head to toe in black, full plate armor with gold detailing. He had a long red cape draped over his back. He looked like the definition of a warrior. 2 enormous greatswords were crossed on his back in an X pattern. I tried to equip a sword earlier, and I could only hold it. The moment I tried to use it like a weapon, it simply dropped to the ground. So while we are not in Yggdrasil anymore, we still cannot use weapons restricted by our classes. I thought wielding a scythe would make me stand out too much since it is technically a farmer's tool. The downside is, I can only cast 5 or 6 spells with this on. So I thought you could be the healer and I could be the warrior. We can get items from the treasury to hide our true appearances. I doubt anyone in this world can penetrate that high level of magic to see the real us. Ainz says to her. I believe that is a good idea, but I would like to add to it if you don't mind. Taylar says. She doesn't see him object, so she continues. First, you know they will never let us leave Nazarick without some sort of guards. I propose we take Albedo with us. Not only will she be another fighter, but a party of 2 with our abilities, even if we are going to act seriously underpowered, would draw a lot of attention. I know what you are thinking. We need Albedo to run Nazarick while we are gone, but I believe there is someone else here who can do that job. I would like to bring her so I can teach her. She must learn to act like a queen, and she will never be able to do that stuck in Nazarick. I believe Pandora's actor should be smart enough and adaptable enough to handle running Nazarick while we are away. Taylar says to him. At the mention of Pandora's actor, Ainz gets kind of embarrassed. He remembers how he designed him. If he is anything like he should be, it will test Ainz's emotional limits in this world. While I agree he can handle it, do you not think we should make it 4 people then? If we have 2 warriors, 1 a tank, 1 DPS, and a healer, we should probably get a magic caster for the party so we don't have to worry about anyone wanting to join us. The question is, who do we bring? I don't want to take another guardian. They're needed in Nazarick for now. I suppose we could take one of the Pleiades. Any of them would have crushed the warrior captain and his men in an instant, so we don't have to worry about their safety. Who should we take, though? Only Lupus Regina, Narberl, and Intoma are casters. Lupus Regina is a healer just like you, even if she is more a battle cleric than a healer. And Toma would be hard to disguise even with items from the treasury. So I guess we are left with Narbril Gamma. She is an elementalist and fits what we are missing perfectly. What do you think about that, Taylar? Ainz asks her. That sounds like a good idea. I want to send Lupus Regina to Karn Village anyway to look after things for us. It is the first place we made a good impression, and even though they were scared at first, the villagers seemed to be truly grateful and appreciative of us saving them. I believe it would be a good idea to keep good relations with them so we can show we can be peaceful. That Henry girl you saved is intriguing too. She had a very strong life aura. I can see that the girl is filled with hope, drive, and determination. She may be someone to keep an eye on in the future. I know someone is going to push us to use our power, and ruling through fear alone will make it much harder, she replies. That sounds good, Taylar. We will stop by the village with her and let them know she is there in our stead if they need anything. We should give them a few golems to help with constructing a wall. I doubt if they're attacked again, and we or Beta are not there at the time they will survive. We are definitely going to have someone check on her, though. I remember how Beast King Mikongawa designed her, and she will probably have the same view of humans many in Nazarick seem to share. Ainz says. Good idea, Ainz. I believe we should call Albedo back here and give the task of collecting the Guardians to Demiurge or Seabass. We need to go to the treasury to talk to Pandora's actor, and Albedo needs to be there to get an item for disguise. I think we should also call the homunculi maids to the throne room to hear what we have to say along with the Pleiades. Everyone should know what we are doing and that you have changed your name. She finishes with a smirk knowing she is the one who changed his name. I also believe we should have a regular maid serve us while we are here. It will show we care for them as much as we do the Pleiades and Guardians. Plus, we can make them take the day off before serving us. I don't think they will agree to time off any other way from what I've seen and Albedo has told me. I believe that is a good idea. I see how hard they are all working and don't want them working to death like the people of Earth were made to do. You and Albedo seem to be getting awful close lately. Should I prepare my heart for what you are planning with her? He asks her. Oh my dear Ainz, whatever could you mean by that? She smirks. Do not worry your cute little head a bit. I am simply trying to teach her how to act like a queen. She cannot have the attitude she was created with and effectively rule over anyone who isn't from Nazarick. I intend to change that. She is actually learning pretty quickly. Did you think she just started calling you without honorifics out of the blue? I didn't think it would happen that fast, but she is making good progress. I even heard from the homunculi maids she has been spending time with them and teaching them how to sew and things like that. Now I need to get her around a bunch of humans and get her used to the idea that they are not just insects who should be squashed. What's the matter, Lord Ainz? Afraid you won't be able to control yourself with 3 beautiful women around you so much. Taylar tells him the reason then. Sort of makes fun of him at the end. She very much liked that he knew her feelings and she could joke like this. Well, luckily for me, my new race does a good job of keeping me from having a heart attack. I'd be dead already if you acted like this and I was a human. It's still surreal to me you are fine with the Albedo situation, but I have come to accept that you are indeed not kidding about this. I think it will be a good thing if you teach her. You two are quite literally the same person, but completely different. Ainz tells her. I will message Albedo and get her to meet us after telling Demiurge to gather the Guardians. You should message Pistonia to gather the maids. I will tell Seabass to gather the Pleiades. He is just outside the door, she tells him. Albedo, where are you at in gathering the Guardians? I am about to leave Demiurge on the 7th floor and head to Aura and Mare Taylar. That is good. Give the task of assembling the Guardians to Demiurge and tell him to make it in 1 hour. I want you to join Ainz and I. We have some news for you and wish you to come to the treasury with us. After you tell Demiurge, teleport to the throne room. We will be waiting for you. Very well, Taylar. I will be there shortly. Pistonia, are you busy right now? No, Lord Mamanga. Do you need me for anything, my lord? Yes, I wish for you to gather the homunculi maids in the throne room in 1 hour. Taylar and I have some things we wish to talk with everyone in Nazarick about. You should come too. Very well, Lord Mamanga, I will gather them with haste. Good, we will see you all in 1 hour. Once they send their messages, Taylar walks to the door, opens it, and gives Seabass instruction to gather the Pleiades in 1 hour. They tell him they are headed to the treasury with Albedo and want Yuri to join them. Once Albedo arrives, they all teleport to the treasury entrance. Albedo is excited to enter. She may be the overseer, but only supreme beings and Pandora's actor have ever been in the treasury. She had never met Pandora's actor, but knew he was created by Mamanga because she was the overseer. Ainz and Taylar take off the ring of Ainz' old gown and hand them to Yuri. Then Ainz tells Albedo she needs to do the same. She is hesitant at first, but after he explains that while you cannot get here without the ring, you cannot enter with it on. It is a safety feature built in just in case someone happens to steal a ring and make it here. Once they enter, Ainz can't help but think of the probably ridiculous conversation they were about to have. He wishes he would have known Pandora's actor would become alive eventually. He definitely would have made his personality a little less, flamboyant, let's say. He can only imagine what they're going to think when they meet him for the first time. As they enter, they see someone sitting on a couch in the middle of the treasury. It looks just like Hero, but Albedo can sense it as a fake Supreme Being's aura. Just because you can mimic the appearance of a Supreme Being does not mean you can fool a Guardian, let alone the Overseer. Stand before me so I can destroy you, you imposter. Albedo yells at the black ooze. That is enough, Pandora's actor. Ainz says. Both Taylar and Albedo watch as Hero starts to form a different body. When he is done a few seconds later, they can obviously tell he is a doppelganger. Taylar had actually never seen Pandora's actor. She knew Mamanga created him to oversee the treasury and made his backstory to love magic items and finance, but not much more than that. She was very surprised when he appeared to be wearing a German military officer's uniform. When he saluted and greeted Ainz in German, she understood why he was hesitant to come here. This had to be embarrassing for him even if he was now the ruler of death and no longer just Suzuki. So you can turn into guild members, huh? Pandora's actor, turn into me, Taylar says enthusiastically. Why are you doing this to me, Taylar? Ainz says. I'm not sure I like how much your intelligence has gone up. You are already catching on to my schemes after just a few days, she pouts. Don't worry, I usually enjoy them, but right now it's hard enough dealing with two of you when we are in an unknown situation. I think my head might explode if there were 3 of you, he replies. Fair enough, but I believe you interrupting my fun deserves some compensation from you, she says. You are one to talk about increased intelligence. You made up a new scheme seconds after I stopped your first one. I got an idea. He stops mid-sentence and kisses her so passionately she can't speak or even think of anything else. She is just lost in the kiss. Even after he breaks away, she just stands there. Sorry, Albedo, I know to be fair I should give you one too, but that is the only way I could stop her. We have business here we need to handle quickly. I will give you your kiss when we leave, he tells Albedo. I anxiously await that moment, Maman, Ainz. Albedo replies. She still wishes he would have kept his name. Ainz' old gown still reminds her of being abandoned right now. None of the other Supreme Beings deserved all Mamanga had done for them except Taylar. She stayed till the end just like he did. Albedo has vague memories of it just being Taylar and Mamanga for around the last 2 years they were in the last world. Maman, I think I like that. That gives me an idea. Let's get our items and I can tell you what we are planning, Albedo. Pandora's actor, we require 2 necklaces of greater mirage. Ainz says. Yes, main creator. I shall get them for you immediately. He salutes, then bows and heads off with a flourish. How in the hell did I ever think that was cool? Ainz thinks to himself right before Pandora's actor returned from the massive pile of gold with items of all kinds sticking out of it. He has no idea how he knew exactly where they were in that pile, but he did make him love treasure. Are these what you needed, Skopfer? Creator, he says. Was that German you were just speaking? Do not do that in front of me. I am very sorry, main creator, he finishes. Was that German and Latin combined? How many languages did I give you, geez? You bestowed upon me 100 different languages for my acting and shape-shifting to be truly worthy of being your creation lord Mamanga. Pandora's actor seems to be very excited about his acting ability. It makes sense to Ainz since he is a doppelganger and can take on many forms. He was also highly intelligent, which made staying in the right character very easy for him. Well, that might have been too many. We are in an unknown land, transported here the day Yggdrasil ceased to exist. Taylar, Albedo, Narbril, and I need to go outside of Nazarick to get more intel. I want you in charge of Nazarick when we are absent. All the denizens of Nazarick will be there and none have ever met you. I believe it is time they do so if you are to be in charge. Ainz tells him. It would be my honor, main creator. What did I tell you about the German? I'm very surprised I haven't died of embarrassment talking to him yet. I bet Taylar is getting a kick out of this. Albedo just looks confused. Oh shit, that is right. I never told her about leaving Nazarick. I was going to wait to tell her with everyone, but cat's out of the bag now, he thinks. Sorry, I was going to tell you when I told everyone else but you. Me, Taylar, and Narbril Gamma are going to disguise ourselves as adventurers and head to the city of Irantal to gather information. We must pose as humans because it seems this region is only made up of humans, and we would stand out otherwise. At the mention of looking like a human, Albedo gets a disgusted look on her face. She has no desire to look even remotely like a human. Taylar sees what she is thinking and decides this is a good teaching moment. Your thoughts are written all over your face, Albedo. This is what I meant by learning to rule over all species. If your reaction is like that when humans are merely mentioned, what would your reaction be if one was standing here? I will make a deal with you, Albedo. I will show you humans can be more than just weak insects. That girl we saved, Enri Amat, I felt a strong will from that one. I guarantee she will do something no other human has done, and if that happens, we will host her in Nazarick. When that happens, you will be her guide and escort from her village to Nazarick, all. Around Nazarick, you will eat dinner with all of us, and you will do it with a smile on your face and be courteous to her the entire time. Taylar says to her, It will be hard for me to do that. I know with just one swing of my axe I could have killed that whole village, so to see them as anything but weak I'm not sure I can do. You also do not have to make a deal with me, Taylar. You told me you would help me be a worthy queen of Nazarick, and I believe it is helping already, so I will listen to you. Albedo says to her, Yes, I see you have been learning quite a bit, Albedo. I know you regularly go see the homunculi maids and teach them new skills, have been visiting the various floors of Nazarick to check on its citizens, and you even went and saw your sisters. I am very impressed at your progress, Albedo. As Taylar is praising Albedo, she begins to beam with pride. She knew eventually she could learn to put up with anything from a manga, but thought it would take years. With Taylar guidance, she was learning much quicker than she ever expected. That must mean what it is to be a supreme being. To be able to do things in moments that takes others years or lifetimes to achieve. Oh, one last thing, Pandora's actor. When you are not in charge of Nazarick, we have some more things for you to sort through in the treasury. As Ainz finishes, he spreads his wings and flies above the pile of gold. He holds out his right hand so his inventory opens, then takes his left hand and places it on the left side of the inventory. Everyone is shocked when he spreads open his inventory even wider. No one knew that was possible. He then sticks his whole arm in and sweeps it out like emptying an entire shelf on the floor. He continued to do that, and Taylar finally caught on and did the same. It was their haul from destroying Seraphim before shutdown. By Pandora's rough estimate of them emptying their inventory, there were about 1,500 magic items ranging from low-class level 1 to 10-1 all the way to legendary level 85 to 95. He did not see any divine class items, but they might have just been keeping them in their inventory for personal use. He also saw roughly 25 billion in Yggdrasil gold coins along with the items. He was blown away when they handed him 3 world items. He loved world items. He actually dreams about getting them, and now he was handed 3 at once. He hopes his creator would return swiftly so he could study them. I see it will be hard to break him of those embarrassing habits. Zumindest hat er erst nicht auf Deutsch gesagt. At least he didn't say it in German. Oh crap, no wonder he is so messed up. Ainz thinks to himself, then facepalms. Now he was very nervous to introduce Pandora's actor to everyone. It was time to head to the throne room and get ready to address Nazarick. Ainz was surprised he wasn't nervous. He was quickly getting used to the idea of ruling over Nazarick. The whole world was a different story. The denizens of Nazarick were easy to rule over considering how much all of them were helping run Nazarick. My job is to make sure everyone in Nazarick is safe. It is time to move forward and make sure they are happy. The past is over and done with. Time to look towards the future. Ainz thinks. Being able to rely on Taylar and Albedo made it even easier to think this. He had no doubt either one could run it in his place if they ever needed to. He just needed to make sure everyone in Nazarick was happy. That was all he wanted for them, to be safe and happy. I wonder if that is why she started this whole Albedo thing, so she could distract me from the completely fucked up situation we are in and me thinking too much about it, he thinks to himself. Whatever the case, he was glad she was here and he wasn't alone. Every time he thought about that, he got a little irritated at realizing once again, if she wasn't here, there would be no one here because everyone else left already. Screw this. I've had someone with me for the last 4 years. I finally got a date with her and we were sent here. I can't just think about what isn't here, I have to think about who is here with me. He reaches out and takes Taylar's hand as they are approaching the doors to the throne room. Albedo, head inside. I want to talk to Mamanga for a minute. Taylar says. Albedo does as instructed and heads into the throne room. When they both look in the open door, they can see hundreds of Nazarick's denizens all waiting for them. It was terrifying and exciting all at the same time. Are you okay? You seem to be zoning out and getting a little irritated. Are you nervous about this? We can do this later if you like. I'm sure they will wait if needed, she tells him. No, I'm not nervous, and what got me irritated I'm over now. I realized we were supposed to have a date a few days ago, but insanity ensued, and we have barely had a moment to ourselves. I would still like that date, you know. We don't even have to leave Nazarick if you don't want. There are 10 different worlds right here in our home. He finishes with a smile at saying this is their home. I love that idea almost as much as I love you. She wraps her arms around his neck and gives him a kiss. So should we have a wedding? Should we have it here? If we do, what floor? Where would I get a dress anyway? I bet Albedo can make one. She is a very good seamstress. I mean, you already called me your wife along with Albedo. Is it weird I'm planning a wedding before our first date? Yeah, that is definitely weird. I'm rambling now, aren't I? Ainz thinks this is the cutest thing he has ever seen. He didn't want to stop her, but it was time to address Nazarick. I think it is adorable, he chuckles, but it is time to talk to everyone. I think we have kept them waiting long enough, he tells her. Way to dodge the question, Lord Ainz. You are becoming quite the politician, she laughs. They enter the throne room of Nazarick. They see hundreds of its beings all kneeling. All the guardians are here except Gargantua. Every member of the Pleiades are present kneeling behind Seabass, and Albedo is standing on the right of the throne, Ainz left side if he is sitting down. They both make their way to the throne holding hands the entire time. When they make it to the throne, Ainz sits down and looks at Taylar. I know this might be a little awkward, but I think you should sit here with me. It has just been you and me for the last 2 years, and you should be here also, he says to her. Well, I would love to sit in your lap. You belong in that throne, and I know where I stand with you. Right beside you, where I always will be, she says. Everyone in the throne room who heard them are moved by their words to each other. To think the Supreme Beings could be so kind. They needed to show their loyalty to get that kind of kindness from the Supreme Ones. Thank you for gathering everyone. There are many things to discuss, but one more important than the others first. Silent, dimensional move. He immediately appears before the flag that represents Mamanga. He quickly undoes it from the pole, puts it in his storage, and uses a silent dimensional move to sit back on the throne. I have changed my name. I am no longer Mamanga. I am Ainz. You may address me as Ainz. Any who object to this speak now, he announces to Nazarick. In unison, everyone in the throne room says, All hail Ainz. As they all begin to praise him, he thinks to himself, I might want to spread the name of Ainz, but I don't want to not be Mamanga. It was me for 12 years. I'll hang this flag in my bedroom so I can still be me when I need to be. When they finish their praise, he snaps out of it and continues. We will spread the name of Ainz in this world like we did all the others. To that end, we must first obtain information on this world. Taylar and I will be posing as adventurers to obtain intel. My lord, we cannot let the last supreme beings leave Nazarick without guards. We do not know what we would do if we lost both of you. Demiurge says to them. He does not want the last two supreme beings to leave them and never return as the others had. Yes, we know, Demiurge, that none of you would like that idea, so we have a solution. Narbril Gamma stepped forward. Ainz says. She gets up from her kneeling position and makes her way to the front of the throne and kneels again. Yes, my lord. You will accompany me along with Taylar and Albedo as an adventurer. We need a magic caster to pass as a whole party, and you and Albedo will be our guards to ease everyone's minds in Nazarick. While we are away, Pandora's actor will do most of Albedo's duties. He moves his hand to indicate who he is since no one has ever actually met him before. Follow his orders like you would the overseers. Now next, Lupus Regina, come forward. You will accompany us to a place called Karn Village. You will act as a liaison and take some golems with you to help them construct a wall and repair their buildings. Taylar jumps in the conversation. I also want you to look after one of the villagers, Enriamat. Make sure she is not killed in some random attack. Keep anyone she is close with safe also. Actually, losing someone close to you does tend to make you act courageously. Well, the girl did just lose both her parents. Okay, I am going to amend that. Keep Henry and her sister Nemu safe. The rest is up to Ainz. That is all I wish from you. She finishes. We will be leaving in a few days while we make preparations. We look forward to your efforts in the future, he says. I am going to teleport to the room and lay down for a bit. Would you like to join me? I would love to, but I need to talk to the homunculi maids. I will be there when I am done. Ainz disappears and leaves everyone kneeling there except Albedo and Taylar. Albedo, I need to speak to the maids. Go talk to the guardians and give them the orders you need to before departing, then talk with Pandora's actor about giving him your responsibilities then the next 4 hours, or so you can spend however you like. Taylar tells her. Very well, Taylar. I am looking forward to learning more from you. Albedo says. They each make their way to the group they need to speak to. Thank you for coming, ladies. Lord Ainz and I would like to reward all of you for your hard work. First, you only need to clean the other Supreme Beings' rooms once a week, not every day. Second, you will only work for 12 hours a day, and the rest of the day will be yours to do with as you please. Last, we would like for one of you to personally serve as our maid for the day. In order to do this, you must be well rested the day before, so you will take the entire day off the day before you serve us. That means you will get a day off every 20 days roughly. How does that sound to you? She asks them. It would be an honor to personally serve the Supreme Ones, but we do not need any time off, Lady Taylar. We were created to serve the Supreme Beings and delight in doing it, they pretty much all say. I knew you would say that, but I'm not giving you a choice. We do not know how you working that much will affect you in this world. We will not lose any of the citizens of Nazarick, so you will take your time off for the benefit of Nazarick, she tells them. The maids are in awe that the Supreme Beings care that much for them. They did not think they were worthy of such love. They would work to the bone the time they were allotted to repay the Supreme Being's kindness. Right as she was finishing up with the maids, Taylar heard a commotion coming from where the guardians were. How dare you address the Supreme Ones so casually, Albedo? What are you thinking? You need to show them the proper respect. Demiurge says to her. I can't believe I am saying this, but Demiurge is right, Albedo. I have seen you not bowing or kneeling when you should be. Do you think they do not deserve your respect? Seabass says. I am doing what Taylar is teaching me to do. That is all I should really have to say. Albedo replies. You think you don't owe us an explanation? Shaltir says. I believe I just explained it to you, Shaltir. Albedo replies. You think that explains what you are due, Shaltir is interrupted. Is something the matter over here? Taylar says. No, Taylar, just a misunderstanding. I believe it is resolved now. Albedo tells her. No, it isn't. Shaltir says. I suppose you are wondering why Albedo is acting differently then. Well, that is an easy explanation. I am teaching her how to be a queen of Nazarick. Do you object to this? She asks them. They all kneel down, except Albedo, and say in unison. No, Lady Taylar. So I guess it is true. Shaltir whispers. What is true, Shaltir? Taylar asks. Shaltir didn't mean to say that out loud. She was just thinking it and must have muttered it to herself. She wasn't sure what to do, but she had to answer the Supreme Being. About Albedo being created in your likeness from another world, Lady Taylar. Shaltir answers. Yes, that is true. How did you know that, Shaltir? She asks. Albedo told us she overheard you in the throne room with Lord Ainz saying that. To her surprise, Demiurge answers this time. So all the Guardians know. Sebas and the Pleiades probably do too since they were there. Maybe this is an opportunity, she says out loud to no one in particular. What do you mean by that, Taylar? Albedo asks. Well, since everyone knows we can travel to different worlds, we are going to play a game. I will let you know that one of the homunculi maids is also created in my image from a different world. You may talk to any of them and ask any questions you want. There is no time limit to this, and you only get one guess, so take your time and choose wisely. The first person to get it correct will get a reward. I will grant that person anything within my power to give no matter what it is. How does that sound to everyone? Can I guess right now, Taylar? Albedo asks. Honestly, Albedo, this was more for the other Guardians. I feel you are getting the biggest reward possible, but I will give you a guess that does not affect the other Guardians' chances of winning. Whisper it to me, and we will see if you are correct. Albedo whispers in Taylar's ear, and she starts to smile. Taylar can tell the stories of Albedo spending time with the maids were definitely true, and she was actually taking an interest in them on a personal level. She was impressed she got it right so quickly. She definitely deserved a reward. Very good, Albedo. We will talk about your reward later after everyone's business is handled. You are not allowed to tell the others what you know. Do you understand? I understand, Taylar. I will see you later tonight. Albedo says. Taylar teleports outside of her and Ainz's bedroom. Saying that still put a smile on her face. The door was opened by the guards. Cositus insisted stand here. She had to figure out a way for them to take time off too, but that is a problem for another time. It was cuddle and rest time with Ainz, and that was the best part of the day. Just because you weren't lying, don't think I will just give up like that, Albedo. Shaltir says to her. I would expect nothing less from you, Shaltir. Albedo says. Shaltir grits her teeth, about to fire a comeback at her when she realizes there was nothing else coming out of her mouth. No snarky remark, no name-calling, nothing, just an honest-to-goodness acceptance of it. You seem confused by my reaction, Shaltir. Shall I explain it? I know as long as I continue to grow and learn, I will be Ainz's wife, and with Taylar helping me, it is coming along faster than I ever thought possible. Whether or not you also end up with Ainz is up to you, and I assume Taylar and maybe me. Well, now that we have that out of the way, I need to speak with Pandora's actor. You all know what you are doing. Don't disappoint Nazarick, Lord Ainz, or Lady Taylar, she says and heads off for Pandora's actor. The Guardians all start conversing about the difference in Albedo, then move on to trying to figure out who the maid they are looking for is and how Albedo learned it so quickly. While they wrap their brains around it, they start making their way to the maids to ask them questions. They all had something they desired that probably only the Supreme Beings were capable of. Albedo went and talked with Pandora about what deities would require his attention while Albedo was away. Once they were finished, she told Pandora to talk with Demiurge to make sure the defense of Nazarick would be impenetrable while Ainz and Taylar were away. After she finished, she teleported outside Ainz and Taylar's room. She wasn't sure if she should ask for her reward now. She didn't want to disturb them, but she was told to act like an equal, so she had to. She knocks on the door, and a few seconds later, Taylar opens the door. She is wearing her nighttime clothes and Albedo finds her quite attractive. Good evening, Taylar. You said we would discuss my reward after we both had our talks. I did not want to disturb you, but you told me to act like a queen. Albedo says. It is all right, Albedo. You did exactly what you should have, and I didn't even lay down yet, so your timing is great. So, what would you like as a reward? Remember, it must be something within my power to grant, she tells the succubus. I have been trying to rest as you and Mamanga have, but it is not easy for me, so I just end up either sewing or spending time with the maids. I thought maybe as my reward I could rest in here with you and Mamanga. Maybe that will get me to rest. Albedo replies. Well, Ainz is sleeping right now, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I don't mind myself, but I get the right side. She grins at her. If you need something to where you can look through my closet in here, or you can go change and come back when you are done. I will go change and be right back, Albedo says excitedly. She hurries off at lightning-fast speeds and returns just as fast. When Albedo gets back, they each take a side of Ainz. Albedo notices Taylar fall asleep almost immediately, but she has trouble at first just knowing how close she is to Mamanga. She notices his old flag hanging on the wall across from the bed and is kind of relieved he still has it. She would spread the name of Ainz Olgown as her beloved wanted, but he would forever be Mamanga to her. The next morning, Ainz stretches out his arms and wings, feeling better rested than he had in a long time. When he looked over to his right, he saw Taylar in her usual place and smiled. He went to pick up his other arm to brush the hair out of her eyes when he noticed something was pressing down on it, holding it in place. When he looked over, he saw Albedo, sleeping just like Taylar, cuddled up to his other side. To his surprise, he wasn't embarrassed or flustered in the least. He was actually smiling. Having finally gotten a date with Taylar, then coming here and having her bring Albedo into this was unexpected, but he was starting to enjoy every moment of this. Who would have thought someone like him would have the two most beautiful women in the world using him as a body pillow? Instead of getting up and going to talk to Neuronus like he was going to, he instead decided to enjoy the moment and run his fingers through both of their hair. He knew he would like this new world. He had no will at all to return to Earth and the nightmare that was working. He would pick Nazarick 100 out of 100 times if Taylar was with him. After about 30 minutes, they both started to wake up. Well, good morning, you two. Did you sleep well with your body pillow? He laughs at the end. Good morning, love. You seem to be fine with Albedo being in here. I told you he wouldn't mind Albedo, Taylar says. To be honest, I've been expecting you to do this for a couple days now, Ainz says. Oh, this wasn't my idea. She looks at Albedo and Ainz follows her gaze. She is smiling and acting shy for some reason. I guessed right in Taylar's game with the Guardians and asked for this as a reward because I was having trouble resting by myself, Albedo says. Oh, a game, huh? What game are you playing with the Guardians? Ainz asks Taylar. I told them one of the homunculi maids was created in my image from another world, and she guessed which one correctly. She asked to sleep with us, and I didn't think you would mind, so I said yes. Judging from how you are acting, I was not wrong, Taylar says to him. What man would complain about this situation? How did you know it was Sixus, Albedo? I have been spending time with the maids and noticed Sixus acts just like Taylar, especially when compared to the other maids. So that was my guess and I was correct. It was definitely worth the risk, Albedo says. He smiles at both of them. They start to get out of bed, but Ainz interrupts them. Hold on a second, you two. I put off talking to Neuronus, so I didn't wake you two up. Don't you think I deserve a good morning kiss for being so considerate? He asks. That sounds fair, Lord Ainz, Taylar says. She loves calling him that to tease him. They both lean in and give him a kiss. Then he wants to tell them something before they get ready to depart for Irantal. I know we are spreading the name of Ainz Olgown in this world, but when we are in here, will both of you call me Mamanga? I still want to be me when we are alone, he asks them. Taylar is not surprised by this. He wasn't too keen on the idea of taking the name Ainz Olgown. He thought it wasn't his place to represent all the former members. Taylar suggested it because he was Ainz's old gown and everyone else had abandoned them, so they had no say in it, she felt. Albedo was very excited. She wanted to call him Mamanga and sometimes still slipped up and said it instead of Ainz, but now he was giving her permission to call him Mamanga. It softened her heart knowing she would still have her Mamanga with her. I see no problem with that. What about you, Albedo? Taylar says. You will always be Mamanga to me, my love. It would make me feel beyond happy to continue calling you that. Albedo replies. Thank you, both of you. Now, I need to talk to Neuronus to find out what she learned from our guest. Taylar, you wanted to visit Oriole Omega, right? I am still not comfortable with the 8th floor, so I want you to take Albedo and Seabass with you. I will get Narbril Gamma and Lupus Regina Beta after I am done, and we can meet in the throne room for our departure. Ainz tells them. They all set about their tasks. Ainz learns from Neuronist about the 6 gods in a little more detail and finds out the slain Theocracy has Yggdrasil items. Nigan's weak human body didn't survive the questioning, so Ainz experimented with Create Undead. He turned him into an Elder Lich and found out he had a talent that made his summons more powerful. He thought he might be useful, so he kept him around for now. Taylar and Albedo head to the 8th floor with Seabass so she could see Oriole Omega. They teleported right to the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary with no trouble and went right inside. Taylar wanted to make sure her creation was doing all right with the new changes and didn't need anything. Once their meeting was concluded, they headed to the throne room to meet Ainz. He was waiting for them with Narbril Gamma and Lupus Regina. They were stopping by Karn Village first as Ainz, Taylar, and Albedo. When they headed to Irantil, they would disguise themselves as humans and become Mammon, Ariel, Albedo, and Bella, Taylar. Narbril Gamma would go ahead and find a place they could land after they left the village. They needed to get into disguise without the possibility of being spotted. Their arrival in Karn Village was met with surprise from the villagers. Once the villagers realized who was coming, they all knelt down to pay their respects to the angels of life and death. At Taylar's insistence, none of them covered their faces. She wanted the villagers to see that they might be heteromorphs, but they were not monsters, especially Ainz. The way his gear was, it made him project the incarnation of death. It was great to intimidate your enemies, but it also made anyone who looked upon him cower in fear. After Ainz told the villagers to stand, they introduced Lupus Regina Beta to the villagers. They told them she would be the liaison for them here, and if they needed anything, they could talk to her. When they told them about the golems and building a wall because they would not always be around to save them, the villagers were all in awe. Golems were incredibly expensive, and they were going to lend them 10 of them to rebuild the village and a new wall. Taylar had already heard this explanation. She was more interested in the girl they encountered their first time here. After she scanned the crowd, she noticed the girl kneeling with a bunch of goblins around her. It was good to know she used the item Ainz gave to her. Those were completely useless to Ainz and Taylar, but she knew 20 goblins in the high teens of level would be a lot of help in a village like this. It was good to see the girl wasn't freaked out by goblins and was getting along with them. She knew she had a good feeling about this girl for a reason. Once Ainz has finished his explanation, he opened a gate in the village and summoned the golems. He gave Lupus Regina her orders again, and the 4 of them took off in the sky. When they were out of sight of the villagers, they landed and all equipped what they needed to disguise themselves. The city of Irantil was situated at the border between the Baharuth Empire and the slain Theocracy. Since it was protected by 3 layers of city walls, it was known as the Fortress City due to its appearance. The zones between each layer had their own unique characteristics. The outermost walls were used by the kingdom's military and had all the necessary military armaments. The innermost wall housed the administrative zone. This zone has its own warehouses for food and was heavily protected by soldiers. The zone in between these 2 areas was the residential area for civilians. When you hear the word city, this was the zone that matched it. This plaza was incredibly lively in the day. The noisy and crowded atmosphere would carry on till sunset. But 4 figures leaving a 5-story building put an end to the rowdy atmosphere. Every eye in the plaza was drawn to the four of them. 3 of them were females in their late teens or early 20s. The fourth, no one could tell their gender because they were covered head to toe in black, full-plate armor. Some of the people in the plaza started whispering "Dark Warrior" to each other. The first woman had sharp obsidian eyes, thick, shiny black hair that was pulled up in a ponytail, and tan, exotic-looking skin. The second woman had deep blue eyes, long black hair that fell down past her shoulders, and soft, alabaster skin that glowed in the sunlight. The last woman had piercing emerald green eyes, long blonde hair that was braided in a single braid down her back, and soft, snow-white skin that seemed to glow in the sunlight. They all looked around, and the armored figure took the first steps away from the building known as the Adventurers Guild. It was for people who hunted monsters. Everyone noticed the copper plates hanging from their necks. The only reason they drew so much attention was that all 3 of the women were incredibly beautiful and the other person had some very nice armor on. Once they got farther down the road and noticed no one was around, Ainz turned to the women and said, "I knew I shouldn't have let you 2 pick your own disguises. All 3 of you being so beautiful really drew a ton of attention to us already, and we just registered with the guild a few minutes ago," he says to them. "Like we would let you adventure with someone who wasn't he. Bella Taylar says. "I'm sure this is going to cause some problems already. It took everything I had not to slap the look off of most of the adventurers in the guild faces when they were looking at you 3. Mammon tells them. You're awful protective of us, aren't you, Mammon? Bella says. Would you expect anything less from me? Mammon says. All 3 of them looked like they were blushing. Ainz wasn't quite sure why that was. It wasn't like he was saying something they never heard before. Well, he guesses he never said anything like that to Narbril, but the other 2 he has. Right as he was about to ask why they arrived at the inn they were told copper plates hang out in. Once Mammon opened the doors, every eye in the building went to him. They quickly took in the giant in full plate. They were all about to go back to their conversations until they saw the woman walk in behind him. She was a world-class beauty, and following behind her were 2 women who were just as beautiful. I see dealing with these piece of garbage humans is going to test my patience. Mammon mutters to himself. He contemplates releasing his aura of despair, but realizes that is a terrible idea. Luckily for him, Bella speaks up. If I were all of you, I would stop looking like that. It is taking my husband everything he has not to decapitate all of you right now, she tells the room. Most of the people get the message and start trying to act like they weren't staring. A few people see the copper plates hanging from their neck and aren't intimidated in the least. They need to quickly get a room before Ainz loses his mind and starts hurting people. They walk up to the counter and ask for a private room. The bartender doesn't seem to get it and tries to get them to stay in a communal room. As you can see, we don't need any more party members. We have a healer, a magic caster, and 2 warriors. So we would like a private room. Mammon says again for the 3rd time. This jackass bartender is starting to piss him off. Fine, if you want to get yourselves killed, that is on you. That will be 1 silver. It will be 4 more copper if you want a meal, the bartender tells him. Ainz hands the man 1 silver and tells him they will get their food themselves somewhere in the city. Once he finally deals with the bartender, they start making their way towards the stairs only to be stopped by someone sticking their foot in Mammon's way. The people here are really starting to wear on him. He continues walking and just brushes the man's foot aside with his. Hey, that hurt. The man stands up trying to intimidate Ainz by clenching his fists together. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't see your short stumpy leg there. Ainz says. You're a cocky fellow, aren't you? But don't worry. I'll forgive you and let you go if you let me have your women for the night, the idiot adventurer says to Ainz. Taylar, Nabe, and Albedo can all see he is about to explode in rage. His tone and the way he is balling his fists up let them know he is about to pummel this idiot into the ground. Albedo, deal with this idiot before Mamanga kills him, please. Ariel, Albedo, steps in front of the man before he even knows what is going on. She grabs him by the throat and lifts him off the ground. "Maman, do not waste your time with this piece of trash. If he cannot even break my grip, he is not worth your time." Ariel says, then throws the man like a doll across the room, sending him through a table against the wall. Almost every patron in the building can't believe their eyes. This incredibly beautiful woman just manhandled an adventurer over 6 feet tall like he was a small child. They did not know where these adventurers came from, but it was probably a good idea to just steer clear of them for now. They heard a scream come from the side of the room where Ariel tossed the idiot, only to see an adventurer with an iron plate walking towards them. She did not look happy at all. "Hey, you threw that idiot onto my potion. I saved up for weeks to buy that thing," Brita says. "It is just a potion?" Maman says, wondering why she is getting this upset over one potion breaking. "Just a potion. Just a potion. I had to skip meals and save for weeks to get that. It could have saved my life one day." "What do you mean just a potion?" she says angrily. "Why don't you have those men compensate you then? They started this whole nonsense," Ainz tells her. She looks over the men and knows they don't have the money to replace the potion she lost. She sees them in here all the time and they waste all their money on alcohol. "These idiots don't have the money to pay me back, but you got on pretty nice armor. Why don't you just pay me back?" Brita says. Now Taylar is the one who is about to slap someone. This little bitch is trying to take advantage of the fact she thinks Mamanga is rich. She is about to give her a piece of her mind when something very unexpected happens. "Here, Albedo holds out a low-tier healing potion. This should replace the potion you lost, and since I was the one who threw him, I will repay you." Brita looks at the potion. She has never seen a red potion before. She will have to get someone to look at this and find out if it is worth it. "Thank you. What's your name?" Brita asks. "I am Ariel. This is Maman, Bella, and Nabe." Albedo tells the short red-haired girl. "Well, thank you, Ariel, and good luck on your adventures." Brita says, then turns and leaves the inn. She needed to head to an alchemist to get this appraised immediately. Once the situation is diffused, they make their way up to the room they rented. Everyone is stunned. Even Nabe can't believe that Albedo was the one to keep her cool and handle the situation. Only Maman finally said something. "Albedo, that was impressive. Of all the beings in Nazarick, I would have never thought you would treat a human like that. Thank you for that. I was about to lose my mind and rip that idiot to shreds for talking about you three like that." Maman says to her. "There is no need to thank me, Mamanga. I was simply doing what Taylar has told me to learn. All I could think about was how I could squash her under my boot like the insect she was, but Taylar's words resonated with me. I saw that girl, Enri, that she was talking about treating her summon goblins like her friends and not summons. It seems even weak races, like humans, can be of use if given the proper tools. I imagine there will be many human and demi-human races we will rule over. I must learn to tolerate them now because I fear if I wait too long, my opinion of them will not change," she says to them. "You are learning even quicker than I imagined, Albedo. You may be an even better queen than me already," Taylar says to her. "Thank you for the praise, but if that were the case, I would not have to learn from you, Taylar," Albedo says. "Well, we can head to the Adventurers Guild in the morning. Let's take today to look around the city and see the layout," Ainz says to them. "That is perfect. I also want to sell an item or two to get us some more money. I have plenty of useless low-level gear in my inventory that I can easily get rid of. They should fetch a nice sum of money in this world," Taylar says. Albedo and Taylar head to sell some equipment while Ainz and Narbril go off to try and get some information about this kingdom. They decide to all meet back at the inn in 2 hours. Ainz does not want those three staying in that flea-infested inn, so he is going to stay and let them head to Nazarick through a gate. Shaltir can send them back when it is time to head to the Adventurers Guild in the morning. When he told them this, they were happy they didn't have to stay here, but did not want to leave Ainz behind. They insisted they simply lock the door, cast magic on it to prevent it from opening, and use Ainz' gate spell the next morning to go back. The real reason they insisted was that Taylar did not want to lose her body pillow. It was very difficult for her to get some rest when Ainz wasn't with her. She understood completely what Albedo meant by not being able to rest while alone. No way was she missing out on the safe and comfortable feeling of being next to him. Albedo wanted him to come back because she had just gotten permission to sleep in the same bed as Taylar and Mamanga. She wasn't sure if her award was a one-time thing, but she intended to linger around and find out if it was a long-term reward. She was really hoping for the latter. She had never felt as rested and refreshed as she did the morning after getting to cuddle with Mamanga. She caught on to why Taylar fell asleep so quickly when laying in there with him. When they got back to Nazarick for their rest, they all headed for their locations. All of them were headed to the same area of the 10th floor except Narberl. As they approached Mamanga and Taylar's room, Albedo did not hear either of them say she could enter, so she started to make her way to her room. That is when Taylar called out to her. "Albedo, don't take too long getting changed. Actually, why don't you just bring your nightwear to our room? It would make it easier for you when we are resting," Taylar says. "Yes, Taylar," Albedo answers excitedly. She takes off at lightning speed. "I'm glad I've gotten used to this," Ainz laughs. "Just remember to look at me first when Albedo and I change into our nightgowns." Taylar gives him a mischievous grin. Ainz is keenly aware he is the luckiest man in the world. He gives her a kiss right as Albedo is returning from her room. She looks incredible, and he gives her a kiss right after he is done taking in her beauty. They all retire for a few hours of rest, which is now all of their favorite time of the day.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.